Thanks for coming to this community of practice that we have today on safer infrastructure design. The agenda for the day is going to be, I'm going to do a very brief introduction, and then we'll have Teije Gorris, who will be presenting us something on safer infrastructure design. After that, we'll have Patricio Ruiz, who is from Centrico. He's going to be talking about their project in Sinaloa, and he'll be complemented by Miguel Angel, who's going to be presenting a short video on that experience. And then based on that, then we'll get people's questions and answers. Please feel free to start writing answers via the chat. And once we're done with the presentation, then we can take those up. I'm actually in Mexico, and there's another event happening in a short while, so I'll be stepping off, and then Cynthia from our team will be taking over. But then I'll do this introduction now, and then we can take it up. So first of all, Teije Gorris is here. Then as you have read in the invitation, then Teije is currently working as a team leader of capacity building at DTV Consultants. He's in the Netherlands. He's also responsible for the development and delivery of DTV's capacity building activities. He also holds a position as program director at the Delft road safety courses, or road safety courses for low and middle income countries. And he manages course programs that contribute to creating safer mobility conditions in these countries as well. He collaborates with the World Bank as an expert, providing bicycle infrastructure training courses in the Philippines. And finally, he's also a consultant to us at the Global Road Safety Partnership in Urban Planning and road safety related matters. So it's great to have you here, Teije. I'm going to turn off my camera and mic so that you can continue, and please take your time. And then everybody else, I remind you to put your comments in the chat, and then we can take them up after Teije, Patricio, and Miguel Angel. So thanks for being here.
Yes, hello everyone. Thanks for the introduction, Carlos. I've just started to sharing my screen, so you should be able to see it right now.
Yes.
As just mentioned, this is me indeed with several hats here. Also here with the head of the GRSP program. DTV capacity building is on the list, Delft road safety courses and World Bank. I'm going to talk a little about, well, safer road design. There's a lot to tell about it. So I was really thinking, okay, what to focus on. And I'm educated as a traffic engineer, so I will mainly focus on engineering. I also think that, well, a safer road design, the engineering part is really a basis for effective enforcement and education. So I think, well, safer mobility or interventions in the end, well, not start with enforcement and education, but start with a safer road design. And, well, with an engineering bias, I'm also Dutch. I'm based in the Netherlands. I have also decided to choose a bit of cycling bias for today, also to bring about some messages I would like to bring about. As a Dutchman, cycling, I don't consider myself as a cyclist. For me, it's a mode of transport. Well, one of the ways to drop off my kids to school. So these are my sons, Thomas and Pim. Now at the age of 6 and 10, so they ride their bicycle, and they also wish you a good luck for this session today. I've also thought, okay, shall I start with theory, concepts, or just dig in? And I chose the last. So I will start with some pictures and examples, and I also would like to invite you to, well, to contribute and to put some responses in the chat. And now I have to admit, I have to seek for the chat window. Yes, you have to arrange some windows over here. So what I'm going to put on the screen is a picture of a Dutch intersection. So I would like to raise an open question. Which kind of safety features can you recognize here? Could you provide your answers to this question in the chat? So if you see something, just write a couple of keywords and put them in the chat, please. So what makes this a safe intersection? The first ones. Yes. Take some seconds to think about this. I see some good stuff coming up already. That's great. Thanks. So I know you are there. Great. So some lights. It is about traffic lights and street lighting. Perhaps you are referring to both of them or separately, but at least they are there. Legibility. Sonia, I don't really understand what you mean by that. Could you unmute yourself and perhaps explain?
Yes, for sure. Thank you. Good morning here in Mexico. Yes, legibility, like having clarity of the road, which way you and which maneuvers you can develop.
Yeah, good point. So I understand. Thanks for clarifying this. I think that also relates to Miguel's answer on paints. Visible bike lanes. In the Netherlands, we like to use red. Connected paths, visibility, accessibility, maintenance is in place. And of course, this is an at-grade intersection, so there are still conflict points. But I would also like to make a comment on that, Ben. I've highlighted some, so let me highlight these. So we have the protected aisles in the corners. Well, some corners there are some bigger than other corners. What I will show later a bit clearly is in the approach of intersections, bicycle lanes bend out also to create more space at the intersection to create protective aisles over here. It's also the protective aisles in the middle. So we have both protection on, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but let me. So with these aisles, we can also protect, well, pedestrians and cyclists crossing here, but it also forces traffic to really make the full angle, the full bend here without cutting corners. Let me continue. Let me see if the laser is working. Of course, we can see in red paint the bicycle lane, the shark teeth. That is what we use in the Netherlands, is to highlight that cyclists have priority. Of course, this is a traffic light controlled intersection, but in case traffic lights are failing, it's still clear who has right of way over there. What is also realized through the protective aisles is that we reduce the lane width over here, also reducing the conflict area in that sense. So we try to, of course, it's still a conflict area, but as it is traffic light controls, we usually don't use partial conflict. So if a right turning traffic over here has green, a cyclist has to wait, and the other way around. If a cyclist has green, the right turning traffic has a red light. Also markings, and that was said, so it is bicycle lanes supported with markings, and also the motorized traffic lanes are supported with some markings. Well, this is the theory of it, and it is also highlighted. I've summarized it here. So it's the priority arrangements of cyclists follow the priority arrangements of the main carriageway. That helps. Where cyclists don't have priority, it is also the red paint isn't used, so to say. The protective aisles are visible also in the corners. Narrow lane widths and also some buffer space for cars to yield in case necessary. The bending out in the approach, also, well, bending in after the intersection. Protected lanes on distributor roads, so next to the lane we still see quite some space for some separation and protection. And this is only after the intersection we enter a living street or living area. Traffic lights are highlighted here. This is, well, it was a Dutch example, but we also see this internationally to make intersections safe. Also in smaller parts, so this the previous example was quite big. This is a smaller one, also from the textbook. This is a distributor road crossing with well, living street, so to say, residential road, no traffic lights involved here. So we have the priority arrangements, the markings supporting that and identifying that. Also, there's a signage over there highlighting it. Again, at this stage, cyclists do not and pedestrians do not have priority. It's for the motorized traffic ongoing here that have the right of way. The protective aisles we have in place, also in the corners again. Some buffer zones for right turning traffic that need to yield, so they have a clear angle of sight. And also here we see coming from the north, approaching the crossing, you bend out, so we create some room for these protective aisles and to also create better lines of sight. And this is how it, well, it looks in practice. It is, well, quite, there's no traffic in this picture. But it shows that it can be realized. Perhaps there's quite some room over here. And we also like to see roundabouts for crossings to be a safe solution here, both for flow and for road safety. Another call for the safety features in this roundabout. So can I invite you again to share your thoughts about what makes this a safe roundabout. So if I may invite you again to share your ideas and comments in the chat. Yes, the first comments coming in. Thanks. So don't be shy to share your ideas. They are very helpful to share, to have some thoughts and inputs here. Raised crossings. I see shorter pedestrian crossings. It's the round itself leading to lower speeds, speed reduction. The same numbers of lanes entering and coming out. Good inputs. Take a couple of seconds to think. The islands coming back again. Wide visibility, street lighting is there, signaling. Segregated lanes. Yes, that's. I will already reveal that's an important one. Yes, so roundabouts, they are really a safe solution under the condition that they are designed properly. So there's also in the Netherlands we have a lot of unsafe roundabouts, poorly designed. Yes, users wayfinding also important there. Yeah, thanks for thinking with me on this one. The marks, the lightning. Yeah, the same story. I will also explain it over here. Let me see if my laser is on so I can highlight. Yeah, so as you can clearly see, like the full circular continuation of the red paint. So the full cycle lane, well, circling as well. So at this area of crossing, they have right of way. Also there, you have the shark teeth again, which is also supported with signage. You can see it here, a yield sign, so cars know where to yield. We have the protective aisles, again, separating the both lanes. And it's also the protective aisles in the corners, also leading to righter angles of approach of exiting traffic. So as you can see here as well, so by this island, the cars, well, really need to make a turn, so they have almost a straight angle and they can clearly see upcoming cyclist traffic there as well. We also have, let me highlight, we also have some buffer zone over here. So the car has about 5 meters here to yield, so not upholding upcoming traffic and a safe place to yield. Well, also in the approach, the bicycle lane bends out to create space for the protection. What did I have here? So we have shorter crossings, that was mentioned as well. So minimizing the exposure area, also made possible through the aisles, but also a bit narrower lane over there. And the size or the dimension of the center part, so to say, really forcing upcoming traffic to make a bend. So this part of the centerpiece needs to be wider than the upcoming traffic lane, so that cars are really forced to make a turn, which is really well, speed reducing. This is again, as the textbook is the theory. We'll go briefly through it. It's really summarizing the elements I just mentioned, also a bit clearer seen here, bending out in the approach. The protective, in this case, it's well, it's constructed. It could be some green, but it could also be a smaller fence like construction, narrow lane, the centerpiece I just discovered. Summarizing some key features, it's the physical separation of vulnerable road users, delineation through markings and separations, which is really important. Really try to minimize the exposure through the aisles, smaller profiles on radii. We try to avoid slip roads and really, I think, avoid unnecessary road space for motorized traffic, which is not used or not necessary. Straight angles in the approach and understandable situations. By doing this, we really try to reduce our speeds and create understandable traffic situations and lines of sight. Also to continue with some examples, bicycle examples on the section parts, and I later on will explain why I'm focusing on this so much. So also how we do it in the Netherlands in this case, where do we plan what type of cycling facilities? We really start with what kind of road category are we thinking of? Is it the residential road or is it the distributor road? What are the speed limits involved? We have various types of distributor roads. The residential roads in principle are at 30 kilometers an hour. The volume of traffic we take into account in the residential roads. In distributor we don't, and I will also explain why. So next to the road type and the characteristic of motorized traffic, we also consider what type of bicycle network, or what kind of bicycle which part of the bicycle network are we discussing? Is it just basic, or is it part of the main network, or is it even higher up, the highest level in the hierarchy? Could be a bicycle highway even. And based on that, we come to a selection. So you see at residential roads, well, we also try to mix, or we make some separate paths or lanes because it's the highest in the hierarchy. So we really want to have high quality for bicycle lanes. And there we want to consider paths also at higher volumes, traffic volumes. And as you can see, if we are above speed limits of 30 kilometers an hour, if we are up to 50 and 70, we really want to go for separated paths. At lower, well, here we could have an exemption, but in the majority, we really want to have separation because that's safer. That leads to these kind of profiles. This is all in Dutch. But I think the bottom line, what I'm trying to say here is also for developing cycling cultures, is really to have, well, infrastructure for vulnerable road users, cyclists, pedestrians, to have this protected and sufficiently wide as much as possible. And the idea behind this is, of course, perhaps don't need to say is that the difference between impacts at 30 km/h and 50 km/h is really a significant difference in terms of trauma and impact. So you could say up to 30 km/h, it's a safe place. So that's also why we think it's relevant to mix cyclists with, or possible to mix cyclists with motorized traffic. But really, speed limits up and higher, it's unsafe, and that is why we really want to have it protected. We also need to see this in the context of movement and place. Of course, we have areas in our city that are designated for movement, or outside cities, motorways, or the corridors leading into the cities, which are really dedicated for cars, for motorized traffic. So these could be, well, these are the sort of the arterial veins also for this kind of traffic. On the other side, we have places for people, which are really, well, parks, parklets, where we want to stay and be. So you can also see in this figure there isn't motorized traffic. But it's also in the area in between we need to be also careful. In the local streets, the vibrant streets where, well, we have both. Here we really don't want to be as a pedestrian or as a cyclist because it's not pleasant, it's not comfortable, it's not attractive, and it is unsafe. So if we are thinking of cycling or walking, no, we really should we should think other routes, other connections. Here in vibrant streets, local streets, here we really need to think about speed management and separation. And in this context, it really helps to think in road categories. So really thinking, okay, we make some roads which are for flow, for movement, and we want to optimize for that in terms of traffic volumes and speeds. We have distributors connecting the flow roads with, in the end, the cities and the residential areas, and the access roads to really connect to arrive at your destination. So we need to think in terms of, okay, what is the function of the road? I just highlighted the Dutch differentiation or the variation. Following from that, we want to design. Have a design speed for the design speeds, the maximum speed, whether you want to have a separated bicycle lanes or you want to mix them. And that should lead to a desired and safe use. Or in other words, if we want to have traffic acting at a speed limit of 30 km/h, we really want to have the design inviting that kind of behavior, and also assign, well, parts of the network to be residential street and to be 30 km/h. This could be integrated in network plans and really assigning in urban areas, also outside, but really assigning which roads are intended to distribute, which roads are intended to access, where we really want to concentrate the motorized traffic, where do we really want to prioritize for vulnerable road users, and to design accordingly. To conclude, some examples here. Also, in terms of network development and planning, perhaps well known, this is Barcelona, where they use the super blocks, really also to cut out some of the elements within the larger blocks and really cut down traffic there and prioritize for cyclists and pedestrians in the inside, and to concentrate, well, the bigger flows of traffic on the outside. So it isn't necessary to have car traffic everywhere. So we really can do, we can concentrate that on the edges. It's not just in Western cities. This is an example from the SUMP, Sustainable Urban Mobility Plan of Kisumu in Kenya, where they did the same, also have in their block, in their grid, assigning road networks for all modes, but also prioritizing for vulnerable road users in these kind of areas, and also making way also for safer design and really implementing, well, a safe design. And these kind of functions, priorities, they are also part of the policy plan, and in that sense politically endorsed. This can also be, in the end, well, safer road design can be started through tactical urbanism. Some examples I derived from my work with World Bank. So through paint and some planters, well, space can be reclaimed on all parts of this intersection, leading in the end to shorter or smaller areas of potential conflicts. Shorter crossing distances. Also here, it's well, perhaps difficult to see the situation before. And these, you see some aisles here, but the aisles have been extended and broadened, and delineation has been improved. That sense, making clear where we really want to have traffic flowing and where we have, well, more space for pedestrians there. Continuing also how to treat an intersection, really tightening the profiles there, allocating space for the carriageway, how to behave in the roundabout, have some, well, painted protective aisles, etc. So really also making a smaller profile, also reducing speed over there. Some examples we worked on in the US, also typical, well, US intersection close to a high school with some infrastructure for pedestrians, cyclists, not really optimal yet, and the protection where it's most needed in the intersection. So this could be treated like this, coming back to the example of the intersections, the protective aisles again, the bending out, the zebras there in place. This is mentioned here. So, well, perhaps a lot of information for this short, a little bit more than 20 minutes. But I think safer road design really starts with thinking about at the network level, categorizing your roads, really to consider separated infrastructure for vulnerable road users in case of speed limits more than 30 km/h. Delineation really helps. And space for motorized traffic is often over-dimensioned, I would say. I think a lot of times, well, people or decision makers or road authorities think this space is necessary, but I think facts will show that this is not the case. So this is where I conclude my story. So if you have projects designs, as GRSP consultant, I'm able to, well, support, help out on reviewing some projects you are working on. And we could think also consider to setting up training to really dig into the details of some of the elements I introduced today. So thanks for your attention.
Thank you very much, Teije. It was really a really interesting interactive presentation. I really like to see that we were able to see examples before and after, and actually the knowledge in action to see the amazing remediations that you have conducted. I'm going to just pass quickly then to Patricio. Patricio, you're around, and he's going to be presenting actually an intervention that they've done with Centrico, one of our Botnar grantees. So Patricio, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. Nice to meet you, and hello to everyone. So let me share my screen. Cool.
In the meantime, just a reminder to please make notes, and we'll have some time to ask questions to Patricio, to Teije, and also Miguel Angel, hopefully at the end of this presentation. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about what we've been doing for the last 3 years in Sinaloa. first, what we've done briefly. We've worked with around 15 groups. We've had around 15 meetings with holding workshops for different groups and parts of the government and different cities in Sinaloa. We've developed 3 finished public works, and in the meantime, to announce the public works, we've held around 9 tactical urbanism events. So I'm just going to go further into the before and after shot. This is in Angostura. This is the original site. And this is what the intervention looks like. Here we're talking about a city that has around 100,000 inhabitants. So it's a really small town. The thing about this interventions, you know, is that we're using the money that came from our grantees. So we're on a really tight budget, but we've done everything we can to maximize the impact of the interventions. So here we can see some of the concepts that Teije has showed us on his presentation, applied into the Mexican context. The government of Angostura wanted to initiate or to mark the start of a bicycle lane that you can see on the path that goes north, on the part of the street that goes north. We have speed bumps that help us to reduce vehicle speed, so that we can sustain a maximum speed of 20 kilometers per hour. These are all interventions made within school environments, school entourages. So the second one, one of the largest ones we've done is in Culiacan. This is the before. It's a very wide intersection. Once again, with limited budget and having to negotiate with public authorities more than with public users. This is what we came to. We made all pedestrian crossings shorter. We also extended a bit further the cycle path towards the southeast. We enlarged the islands in the middle of every connection. And of course, we work. Sorry. Of course, we work with road signaling to make it clear where pedestrians are crossing. We wanted to work with the timing of the speed lights, but this wasn't possible because once again, this had to be negotiated with the government. And finally, an intervention that I really like because it's done on an interurban environment. So we are working within the context of a highway, of a urban highway. This is in Mazatlan. Once again, this is the original state, and this is the finished project. So here, what we made was we changed the pedestrian crossings so that they were more perpendicular, so that they were shorter than they originally were. Once again, we worked with islands, and there's this movement that the white part is doing of returning towards your left, towards the southwest. What we did is that we sent that movement towards the back. We changed it. And finally, the one that is pending is Escuela Ángel Flores, again in Culiacan. This is an unfinished project, but what we've been doing here was what our intentions have been to reduce also traffic speed, vehicle speed, with several speed bumps, as well as different design, kind of like a large curve. This was very controversial. This was one of our this was our very first project in Culiacan. So this attracted a lot of attention, right? At the moment, this site is working, and we're about to finish it with road signaling, with horizontal signaling, and with the final 2 corners that are on the lower part of your screen right now. This is the part behind the school, further back. Once again, the speed bumps are already there. They were already painted, but with time they've worn out. So when we go back, we will paint them again. That's it. That's a very brief presentation of our work, and I want to share with you just a short video of how Culiacán is working at the moment.
Ya lo tengo aquí, Patricio, ¿o lo tienes listo tú?
Sí, lo tengo.
Ah, ok.
Let's just hope that it loads.
¿Es el que tiene subtítulos?
No, este es el video de drone.
Ah, ok.
Let's try to make it. No, I'm guessing we won't. So, in the sake of time, maybe we can share another video. This is, si quieres pasa el tuyo, Miguel.
Yes.
This is from this is part of our communications that we've been working towards with Reflexiona. Suffice it to say that these are not just projects made by Centrico. This is a project made by Centrico and Reflexiona from Mexico City.
Okay.
Stop sharing.
So I'm gonna share this video, and let me know if you can listen and see it. Hola, soy Miguel Ángel Toscano, presidente de Reflexiona, y hoy estamos muy contentos de presentar estos 3 proyectos a los sinaloenses, 3 proyectos salvavidas, 3 proyectos que se hicieron en conjunto con Reflexiona, la organización que dirijo, Céntrico, el gobierno del estado de Sinaloa y 3 municipios, Culiacán, Angostura y Mazatlán.
Uno de los objetivos principales de este proyecto es atender espacios en donde hay alto uso de jóvenes y donde también hay altos índices de inseguridad vial. Trabajamos este proyecto de calles más seguras con el gobierno del estado, quien ha sido un gran aliado en involucrar a todos los municipios.
La forma en cómo vemos posible que pueda catalizarse este tipo de intervenciones en el estado es que puedan ser como pilotos o ejemplos para otro tipo de casos, ¿no?
Estas intervenciones sean un punto de partida y un ejemplo de que es posible diseñar y rediseñar las ciudades que tenemos actualmente.
La intervención en Culiacán tiene la particularidad de ser un crucero de 2 vías bidireccionales. Tenemos flujos en todos los sentidos, por lo cual las zonas peatonales, las islas de resguardo peatonales son importantísimas y no estaban dando servicio de manera adecuada.
Estamos aquí para dar testimonio de que ya se concluyó con la intervención de este lugar. Esto que se hizo hoy permite ordenar el tráfico, darle sus tiempos a cada uno. Este proyecto va a ayudar mucho a futuras intervenciones en cruceros, en avenidas, en zonas conflictivas, y esto nos permite saber que si esto funciona, lo vamos a replicar en diferentes partes de la ciudad.
Para mandar precisamente esa señal de que el peatón es primero y que debe ser respetados todos los espacios que se consideran para que ellos los puedan utilizar con seguridad, con comodidad.
El 69% de los hogares en Culiacán tienen acceso al vehículo privado y eso obviamente es un reto enorme para nosotros, el que no es que dejen de usar transporte privado, que la gente sepa que las vialidades y el espacio público no es solamente para los vehículos, sino también para todas las personas de cualquier tipo.
La intervención en Angostura tiene la particularidad de ser una intervención en una población muy pequeña. Y una cosa que nos agradecieron mucho los angosturenses es que prácticamente no se le pone atención a su municipio por tener una población pequeña en comparación con otros municipios más grandes.
Los cambios que se esperan con este proyecto, más que nada, además de la infraestructura y todo eso, es en la sociedad. Poder concientizar al automovilista que tiene que detenerse, que no es solamente la calle para él, que tiene muchos otros usuarios.
La obra de Mazatlán es punta de lanza en su tipo porque estamos interviniendo en una vía federal. Esta vía federal lo que hace es atravesar la ciudad. Originalmente corría a un lado de la ciudad, pero como esta fue creciendo, se fue tragando parte de la carretera internacional.
Estas obras no es nada más que dar un orden vial a los automovilistas, reducción de velocidad y generar espacios seguros para los peatones.
Esperaría que con esta intervención la gente no solo sepa por dónde tiene que cruzar, sino por supuesto que los automovilistas también sepan en dónde tienen que detenerse para que puedan procurar que el tránsito de los peatones sea más seguro.
Las características de las carreteras tienen que cambiar para adaptarse a estos nuevos usos que se les dan, en donde hay más gente caminando, gente usando el transporte público y no solamente vehículos a alta velocidad.
La idea es que los niños y jóvenes que quieran y que tienen además que disfrutar el espacio público lo hagan de manera segura.
Cuando los niños crucen las calles, tendremos calles más seguras en Sinaloa. Cuando los jóvenes crucen las calles, los vehículos reducirán la velocidad y tendremos calles más seguras en Sinaloa. Cuando la gente quiera caminar en sus banquetas o en su bicicleta, tendremos calles más seguras. Gracias a todos y gracias a Sinaloa, tendremos calles más seguras.
Thank you very
Muy
much,
bien.
Miguel Ángel.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I might be biased, but I'm very excited to see these results. I'm Mexican as well, so I'm very excited. It's amazing and great work with the video and the interventions. We have actually 15 minutes for questions, comments. Well noted, Teije, as well, with the training. I think would be a very exciting idea for some of our grantees to have more time to go in depth. So please do let us know, our grantees, if you're interested in having a deeper, longer special session with Teije. We can discuss designs as well. And of course, we have him as a consultant. So it's again an invitation to use the resources that we have in GRSP and that Botnar offers you to the maximum. So I can see the screen. So it's, if you have questions, you want to turn your cameras on, you just have to raise your hand or go ahead and please write your questions in the chat. Don't be shy. Great. Thank you for sharing the link, Patricio. Yes, that's another thing that I wanted to ask you. If you could please share the links for the video, for the videos. This conversation is being recorded, and we're going to be sharing it in LinkedIn. It's been decided that our Botnar Community of Practice channel will be LinkedIn, so we're going to be sharing this for people to actually, the people that couldn't be here, they can interact and they can also ask questions, and we can keep the conversation going, hopefully. So yeah, Teije, I see your hand up. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just wanting to comment on the examples just presented by Patricio. I think they also show some of the elements I was presenting with the aisles, also reducing some of the lanes, the delineation. So I think it's really well done. Have you perhaps perhaps two questions, if I may? Have you seen an increase in terms of pedestrians and perhaps cyclists as well? And the second one, how did you manage to create acceptance from the relevant decision makers to actually implement it like this?
Sorry, my audio cut off. Could you repeat the question, please?
Yeah. Actually, I have two. Did you see an increase of pedestrians and perhaps cyclists after the intervention? And how did you manage to create acceptance under the relevant decision makers to do this?
So yes, we have seen an increase in pedestrians. The catch is that we started these works when COVID hit. So there was a smaller number of people on the street. We haven't been able to measure it. That's part of our closing point. But these interventions have been made on very specific spots where there's a lot of people walking around, because there are schools, there are cultural centers, there's the botanical garden. So and there are also businesses, local businesses in the case of Mazatlan. So we don't have a specific number, and I would like to share that when we get the digits, the specific digits. What we in terms of your second question, Jaime, who is here, he made a great work of being our liaison in Culiacan, in Sinaloa. So what Jaime did was a very strong presence, talking to the neighbors, talking to the passersby, talking to the drivers, talking to the cyclists. He was one of the persons supervising the public works, and not only he was focused on the supervising the quality of the project and the respect for design, but he also managed to talk with a lot of people. I mean, there had to be lots of negotiations that he did with the neighbors specifically, because and indeed some of the negotiations he had resulted in modifications of the design that didn't impact the positive outcomes that we expected.
And if I
well, in terms, yeah, that was me.
Okay, if I can add something, at the very first time we made a work with different decision makers as congressmen, congresswomen, not only the local deputies, as well the federal deputies who live in Sinaloa, and as well we went with the different mayors. We work with 3 municipalities, but at the same time the really first and very important support was from ERSP, because they provide us the money. So it was the first time we can go with the decision maker and say and talk with them and say, we're going to give you not only the money, because the execution of the public work will be made by us, but we will supervise it. We will made it for you. We will for sure work with your team, and we made different teamworks with them, and finally we have the support from all the authorities, and all you can see is the second phase that we made, and we are very happy to start the third phase in this year. Thanks a lot.
Nice. Yeah.
If I may, I have a follow-up question to both Teije, Miguel Angel, Patricio, regarding sustainability, because I understand in countries like Mexico, I don't know if in your experience you've had this, Teije, but when government change, the interest that authorities may have in one project, in one infrastructure project, may dilute, so to speak, may change, and because I was very excited hearing about the governor of Culiacan saying, if this works, or it was Angostura, I don't remember, like, we want to replicate. So that's amazing. That's the exciting part of this job. But then what happens, or how do you deal with this? How do you make sure that maybe that will is going to stay there and we can actually build upon the success that we've had so far?
So I would talk about, ¿Quiero responder?
Después de ti.
I will talk about mainly communication. What we've worked with was we also worked with the media. We held workshops for the reporters where we invited them to communicate in a different way. And this resulted in a better communication of the outcomes and the expectations of a road safety project. So on one side, maybe we can add more. But on one side, we wanted to change the narrative, and we tried to change the narrative. so that the government was committed from the beginning. And that's something we did in the second phase. We worked with them, pushing their own projects and taking them towards higher standards. And that also helped the project to root itself in a different way. So that those are the two sides that I see: working with the government and working with the communication with the media.
And believe it or not, our democracy in Mexico is very new. So it was like 6 years ago is the first time that we can be re-elect our governments, our mayors in the municipalities. There is no possibility to re-elect the governors or the president of Mexico, but at least we can re-elect congressmen, congresswomen, and mayors. And talking about sustainability, Cynthia, I guess is a very good news, because at least there is one period from 3 years, and if the mayor works well, he or she can be re-elected, and there is a continuity in the project. So it is the case in Colima, in Culiacán, and it is the case in Mazatlan. Both mayors were elected, so we were working with them, and I guess with the seed that we put in the very first time, they are replicating all the public work that we had made, and they are very enthusiastic in because they know that the speed reduction is important. They know that persons are important, cyclists are important. So I guess we are in this process of sustainability. Thanks, Cynthia. Thanks, Patricia.
Yeah, if I may add more, some general comments to this. I think what this example shows well, and also perhaps some other tactical urbanist interventions also show well, is that if you start with a pilot, you can also build some confidence and also create some support with decision makers saying, hey, it's an experiment. We can always remove it if necessary. That could be an argument very valid for a decision maker, that he also feels safe in doing this. So you can start building your evidence bit by bit. The second part I wanted to say is I liked you used the word narrative, Patricio, and this intervention could be framed in different narratives. As such interventions contribute to road safety, but they also contribute to creating an attractive city, or creating healthy citizens, or creating a sustainable environment. So it's good to be aware of this and also exploit it. So also to tap into the relevant departments in cities, because there is also different budgets you can tap into with these kind of narratives. It's good to be aware of it, but in the end you also need a sort of a longer term policy, a longer term strategy that also has an integrated approach to this, and also expands the intervention. Okay, now you have 3 intersections, but you also want to connect this connection to the next one and have some safe lanes or footpaths connecting it, and gradually expanding the relevant areas in the city that you want to have a nicer area for pedestrians and cyclists there. So yes, we have a first step, but you also need to continue walking, so to say.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah. So I also have a question for you. I see that you work in different contexts, and my question for you, Teije, is what would you prioritize whenever we all have budget limits? So we sometimes have to choose between accessibility and speed reduction. So what is your priority? For me, it's very clear that speed reduction, that harm reduction comes first, but what would you say about it? What's your experience?
That's a difficult, that's a difficult question. Yeah. I think in the end, if you, we all want to have a nice city to live in. So despite the fact if we are a pedestrian, a cyclist, or a car driver, but in the end, it's a nice place to be happy in the end and to feel good. So I think in that sense, if you really put a knife on my throat, I would say to go for speed management and the more nuanced, putting more nuance to this. I think in a city, whether it's a big one or a small one, you really need to balance it. Of course, in some places you need to prioritize for cars. There you want to also concentrate it. So you can have other areas to really prioritize for slower traffic and for pedestrians and for green and for playgrounds. The bottom line is that it is not the whole city network that needs to be prioritized for cars.
Thank you.
I think we have a few minutes if somebody else has any comments, questions for our panelists today.
Just one question to Teije. How do you pronounce your name?
Thanks for this question. And I also have to explain it to my fellow countrymen. It's a Dutch name, but not so common. But it's pronounced as Teije. So the J in our language is not a G, or as you do it in Spanish, but more of a Y.
Exactly, Teije. Perfect, Teije. So you mentioned that you can provide us some kind of support. I would like to know what kind of support you can provide us as. I guess it's for free, or how do you work with the different organizations?
Would you like me to take this up, Miguel Angel, or maybe Sunny if you're here?
Yeah, Carlos.
But
Carlos,
it's
can you
pretty
repeat?
straightforward. Yeah, I was just going to mention, to answer Miguel Angel's question, it's pretty straightforward. Teije has days available in his contract with TRSP, so they could be assigned to supporting you. If you say, I need 5 days or a certain amount of days, and you can just request them, then we assign them. Yeah, so pretty straightforward.
Yeah, so that could be, well, have a look or review some designs, or to organize an extended session to discuss and learn more about examples, and perhaps a sort of or design workshop. It's kind of this direction that we could think of.
Yeah, Teije, actually, because I see we're on the hour now, but I think this is a great idea, and I'm going to run it by Sunny. And if you would be open to do this, then I think it would be very interesting for our grantees to have a special, deeper sessions with you to discuss projects, and they can all present. And I think that would be super fruitful. So we'll definitely want to put it on the table. Yeah. And I want to thank everybody for their presence, and this is going to be online, so we're going to create this page, this LinkedIn profile as well very soon. Carlos and I were discussing where to have, we asked you, the grantees, where do we have this information so people can actually interact, they can access the videos, they can see the presentations. So we decided it's going to be LinkedIn. So thank you very much. We hope to continue the discussion and the conversation also through our LinkedIn platform and suggestions. And Teije, thank you again for taking the time. Patricio, thank you for presenting Miguel Angel. And wishing everybody a great day ahead.
Thanks a lot.
And a great afternoon. Thank you, guys.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Thank you.